It is very hard for the public to have confidence. And we've seen the polling on this show now. Majorities of Republicans and even large percentages of independents and some Democrats are struggling with the trust in our election system. And this is just another example that's going to make people, I think, take another look.
Now, the undecided race raises some new questions. Can the divided GOP electorate coalesce in a general election when the Democratic winner, John Fetterman, won easily? Can skeptical voters find reassurance in the election system, given that over 20,000 absentee ballots in yesterday's primary are unreadable due to a printing error? And do Donald Trump's coattails remain alive after yesterday's mixed results? Joining us now is the co-founder and the president of RealClearPolitics, Tom Bevan. Tom, thanks very much for joining us.
Great to be with you.
Another race in Pennsylvania that is just as tight as a tick. We've got no results yet on this Wednesday afternoon.
No, and this has been a crazy primary. The way that we had the endorsement by Trump of Mehmet Oz, it sort of split the Republican Party, and then you had Kathy Barnett surging at the last minute into second place, according to most polls, and then only to see her fall out of contention at the end and have McCormick basically be neck and neck with Oz right now. Oz is leading. His lead is so small and within the margin for an automatic recount, but there's still some ballots that need to be counted in Lancaster County.
Right, and let's cut to that chase right now, because that's a big problem again. 22,000 mail-in ballots are apparently unreadable because of smudges on a barcode or something like that. Again, it just points to the lack of confidence that a lot of Americans have in our election system, a lack of confidence which is really magnified when you get results which are as tight as this.
That's exactly right. And we've seen this over and over again, starting in 2000, but even in the last few election cycles, when the electorate is so evenly divided, and you really get down into sort of the sausage making, if you will, of how these votes are cast and counted, tallied, and all the various differences that go on. We saw a lot of this, obviously, in 2020 that sparked a whole, outcry among Republicans in particular about, potential for voter fraud and irregularities. And this is just another example. It is very hard for the public to have confidence. And we've seen the polling on this show now. Majorities of Republicans and even, large percentages of independents and some Democrats are struggling with the, trust in our election system. And this is just another example that's going to, make people, I think, take another look.
Right. It's so hard to understand how it can happen in a country that is as advanced as the United States, when you can get election results in third world countries within a matter of hours, or certainly a day. It seems to me that it would be intolerable in the private sector to have repeated failures like this. But why does it continue to happen? Do you have any ideas about that?
People make mistakes, and it's a big country, and there are a lot of elections going on, and election, again, these are all handled by local election boards. And so as much as we might want to think, there's technology involved, right? Scanners break. We saw Democrats couldn't count the ballots in Iowa. The app broke down. These kinds of things happen. And when you look back at them, yes, there should be contingency plans. There should be backup plans. I mean, some people are even suggesting that we should go away from scanners and back to just good old fashioned, paper ballots, so that there is an absolute trail, and there can be no instances or suggestions of hacking. So technology is both a boon in terms of processing elections, as big and unwieldy as ours, but also creates some issues that we're seeing now crop up around the country.
Let's turn to Donald Trump right now. He remains the leader of the Republican Party in the eyes of many, many Republicans. Can we divine anything from his coattails by the Pennsylvania election results, or results in other states as well?
Well, certainly it was kind of a mixed result. I mean, Madison Cawthorn, who the congressman from North Carolina's 11th district that Trump endorsed, he lost his seat. He was a freshman running for re-election. But, Oz was sort of the big deal. I mean, Trump really stuck his neck out to endorse Oz. It upset a lot of folks within the Republican Party in Pennsylvania and also around the country, because they didn't feel Oz was sufficiently conservative. If Oz ends up winning this race, after all is said and done, he will have done so because of Trump's endorsement. And I think it will be, another example of the power of Trump's endorsement. Not as dramatic as J.D. Vance in Ohio last week, but certainly another example that Trump is, his endorsement really does move the needle. And, overall, though, his policies, the MAGA, America First policies, certainly triumphed within the Republican primary system around the country. Not only in North Carolina, Ted Budd was a Trump-endorsed candidate there for Senate, won handily, doubled up, Pat McCrory, who was the former governor of that state. And then you look at Doug Mastriano, the governor's candidate, a Republican candidate in Pennsylvania, won pretty resounding victory over, a more establishment-type candidate.
And as you mentioned, Trump did endorse Madison Cawthorn in North Carolina's 11th district, but Cawthorn died pretty much of self-inflicted wounds.
Correct. In much the same way that another Trump candidate from last week, Herbster, the governor's candidate out of Nebraska, he had sexual harassment charges against him. I mean, Madison Cawthorn had a lot of issues. He had a lot of scandals sort of pop up late in this race. He had an array of establishment figures in Washington, in North Carolina, really align against him. And so, ultimately that was his undoing. It's
a different story, though, these Trump coattails in the general election. We're seeing the polarization again because we're seeing President Biden himself embrace this MAGA theory as the ultimate criticism of Republicans, while many Republicans are embracing that label.
That's right. And last night was a perfect example of this. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of angst that I heard from Republicans about Doug Mastriano being the nominee and the portending doom. They think he's going to drag down the entire Republican ticket in the crucial state of Pennsylvania in the fall. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think it's a little premature to declare that Doug Mastriano is such a flawed candidate that he's doomed in an election where the political wins so favor Republicans. I mean, we're talking about $6 a gallon gas all across the country, inflation at 8.5%. I mean, so if the economic landscape stays where it is and inflation remains the main concern of voters across the country, even a lot of these Trump-backed candidates, which look right now like they may be a little bit too far to the right or a little bit too strident on certain issues, the electorate may have a different opinion about that depending on where the economy is in 6 months from now.
Well, how do you think the abortion debate will play into that? We will have had a Supreme Court decision in all likelihood about Roe v. Wade by then, certainly months in advance. We're expecting it in June.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fascinating issue, keeping a close eye on it. Prior to the leak of the Dobbs draft, abortion ranked very, very low across the board in terms of voter concern as being a main issue. It was 9th out of 12th in a Quinnipiac poll. Subsequently, we've seen it rise to pretty dramatically into second place, almost close on par with the economy. We're going to see how long that lasts, how high that stays, and how long that lasts. It will be difficult, I think, for Democrats to keep up the outrage machine for 6 months on this issue. Again, particularly if the economy, gas prices, food prices stay where they are. It'll just be because that is such a main concern. And the other issue is how many voters will it move? I mean, a lot of voters, certainly on the left and the right, are already made up on their minds are made up on this issue. It's not going to change a lot, but are there some people in the middle, some moderate, particularly suburban women who flipped to the Democrats during the Trump years, but Democrats have lost ground with them on education, on crime, on inflation over the last 16, 17 months. If they can win back some of those voters, then it could have some potential political impact on the midterms. But again, long time to go, and we'll have to wait and see and keep a close eye on those numbers.
That's right. This election season is just in its infancy. It's just now getting revved up. Tom Bevan from Real Clear Politics, thanks very much. Please come back and talk to us as this election season progresses.
Will do. Thank you.